Folks, I get a version of the following question all the time, and we're going to have this question with Bo Eckstein, the concierge of small business loans, because I think it's important to get two sides, right? Small business loans, real estate guy. Bo, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So let's pretend we're both operating. We're in a room, we're at a table, we're having lunch with someone, and they basically say something like, "Hey, I am, or my wife and I are busy professionals. We work 70 hours a week. We're a growing family. We have some dry powder that we would like to put to work, but we don't have time. Should we just buy treasuries? Should we buy REITs? Should we buy rental properties? Should we buy a small business?" Because again, when I hear these questions, it's like, hey, I know I'm lucky. Money's not the problem, but I have no time. What should I do? I'm sure you get this question all the time. What do you think?
Yeah. So I get this question. Hey, we want to buy a business. We just don't know what. And they expect me to play the god of the business. And it's challenging to some degree. If you want to be completely passive, you're going to either invest in a syndication, which in the beginning, if you never invested in syndication, you got to be careful because I'm seeing people
Oh,
going down fast right now. So you have to really understand syndication and how to
I would
vet
not touch a
sponsors.
syndication right now. Let's be
Yeah.
clear. I think there'll be people going to jail. Let me just say
There
that.
already are. I've been reading a lot of articles. It's crazy right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, I do think there's a place for syndication, but the problem is if you don't have the skill sets to really understand who you're investing with, stay away there. If you're a normal Joe, let's call it, and you have some dry powder and you're a busy doctor and you don't have the skill sets to manage a business, then you want to buy one rental at a time, okay? And you want to buy something that's already fixed up, that cash
Mhm.
flows. And the biggest challenge on, in my opinion, from owning a decent amount of real estate is vetting the property manager, because if you want to be truly hands off, you need a very
Amen.
professional property manager. If you want to be passive, doing something like that would probably be ideal for you to get wealthy over time. But if you have time, maybe it's 10 or 15 or 20 hours a week, and you have a mindset, a growth mindset, and you can interact with people and you can manage and lead people, there are business models out there. So I'm going to talk about the franchise world, for example. When somebody comes in to buy a franchise, we give them an assessment, they take an assessment. We can see what skill sets they have based on this assessment.
Mhm.
But there are models, there's semi-passive models, there's passive models, and there's owner operator models. This is just for franchise I'm talking. So there's very few passive franchise models. There are out there, but that's usually a higher dollar amount. You're buying this business that's run by the franchisor. They basically just take your money and are an investor. There are some limited passive franchise investments. The majority of the franchise are going to be owner operator. And then there's semi-passive. A semi-passive franchise model means you're probably spending 20 or 30 hours a week in the business, working on it, not in it. There's a manager that you hire. You're going to have skill sets, right? Like I can't like automatically go and expect that I'm going to know, even though a franchise is a blueprint with systems and processes, you still need to have those skill sets, because at the end of the day, you have to manage people and you have to understand how the business works. So there is a learning curve. A franchise would be a good option for somebody that's really, really green, because it's a business in a box. I hate to
Yeah.
say that, but it is.
Yeah.
It's a blueprint, right? Like if you want to learn how to invest in real estate, you would read One Rental all the time. You would take the course, right? Like that's what people do. I take courses every month. I'm taking a new course because I'm always trying to improve myself. So if you're sitting there and because I get this message all the time, that's why it kind of fires me up. It's like I'll help you navigate and kind of give you this discussion one-on-one so it kind of sinks in. But if you have 150 grand and you're a busy professional, well, one, it's great. You saved up a little bit of money, but 150 grand nowadays isn't really that much money. And you
Yeah.
can't really do too much damage with it. Although you can buy $1 million business, right? Because you need
Yep.
10%. So you can buy $1 million business that can give you a 2 or 3 or $100,000 a year cash flow. But you just got to understand that I want you to just know that no matter what you're going to do, you need to do the work. And sometimes I tell people a business might not be the best thing for you
Yeah.
because it is
I'm,
work.
yeah. I had no idea where this question was going to go. I think there's a lot that I took from you. One is if you're that busy professional, read the book one rental at a time, because as I opened the book, that's exactly what my story was. 100-hour weeks, 100,000 airline miles, 100 days in hotels, raising a family. I had one day a week where I could really do anything. Saturdays. That's why I have this saying that every day is Saturday now, because it really meant something. And now it's 20 minutes a day. We have property managers, to your point, only buy deals that work with property managers. It's what we've done since day one. And even though our portfolio is a lot bigger than one nowadays, we spend a couple hours a month. So it's that's if you are that busy professional, that's the thing to do. Number two, I think there's a lot of people that got excited about syndications and saying, "Hey, I'm going to go passive and I'm going to invest with this big name so and so." I tried to warn you 2 years ago. That's not going to end well. Anytime there is FOMO and just this greed going on, it ends badly. But when you go to small businesses, this is something I was thinking about, right? You're an engineer, you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever you are. I have always thought there might be some kind of business that would be kind of a complement, right? If you're an attorney, what do you know about donuts, right? A donut franchise, nothing. But there's got to be maybe something that's kind of close, so the learning curve is less. Do you see any of those kind of connections?
Yeah, so doctors and nurse practitioners, we get a lot of people in our doors like that. And I think like owning like a non-medical senior care business,
Oh,
that could be an amazing transition because you have the
that
skill
makes
set.
sense. That makes
Med
sense.
spas right now are a huge
Ah,
industry. Med spas, you need to be a doctor often or have one on staff. So it's like then you in those models they have a blueprint where you
you
hire
just
the
plug in, right? Yeah.
you hire the general manager, so that would be perfect. So there's something for
Ah,
everybody. I'm actually looking at a franchise right now, and they recycle clothes, but it's very passive. They have these bins, and then you sell in bulk, and I'm like, I could do that, or my wife could do that, right? I've
yeah,
I've looked at I've looked at I've looked at vending, right? Vending machines, believe it or not. I think Warren Buffett, that's how he started in vending or something. But
yeah.
vending machines are extremely passive. Like they're about 1 hour a week per machine. And those things are like buying a rental property. You can get 300 or 400 bucks net cash flow after expenses,
Mm.
maybe even up to 800 machine. So if I own 20 of those, the other thing is what can I do that complements my real estate business? So if
Yeah.
I'm buying vending machines, there's something called Section 179. I'm not a tax CPA or whatever, but I can write off that machine against my other income. And so how do we create a collective overall strategy? Because by nature, I am a real estate investor. Over the years, after financing deals, I realized that I'm an investor. I'm an
Yeah. No,
investor.
totally
I
agree.
invest I invest in private money loans. I invest in other people's business. One thing I do want to point out, if you're a busy professional, doesn't mean you can't be an owner investor. There's a big difference. So Bo's an operator over here, and Bo says, "Hey, I run these self-storage businesses. We're going to partner and buy it together, and I'm operating the business. You can do that too, but see, you got to have all the tools in the tool belt to understand that you could be an owner investor. You're definitely not going to be an owner operator. You don't have the time, but start thinking maybe there's a way to buy a business with a partner, right? Just like when I'm flipping houses and I didn't have the
Yeah.
the $200,000 gap funding. I partner with Dave. Dave says, "Hey, I'll come in with the 200 grand. We'll split profits 50-50." That's great because I wasn't going to be able to buy the deal. So maybe there's your child who wants to start their own business, or a family member, or a retired parent that needs some extra income. Maybe that you can put together a business plan that way. You can create legacy that way. So there's ways of structuring it. You just have to think about all this stuff before you dive in.
I couldn't agree more. What I really look forward to is, again, if you're the big thing for me when I talk to someone, and this happens almost weekly, I got a bunch of money, I have no time. That's essentially what this is. Too many of those folks want to shuck the responsibility of doing the work. Michael, you don't understand it. No, no, no. You have 20 minutes. You have a half hour. You could do it. Trust me. I did. If not, wake up earlier. Do it in your car. Do it on the toilet. I don't care when you do it, but there is a way you can find 20 minutes a day. It really does rub me the wrong way when somebody wants to shuck the responsibility of doing the work and just trust somebody they didn't know a month ago. I'm like, you didn't know that person a month ago. Why are you giving them 150 grand? I just don't get it.
Yeah, there's a guy, and he's being indicted right now. But he was all over Bigger Pockets for a while, and like the banks are going after him for like $32 million in fraud. He basically would buy stuff. Then he would sell it and carry back paper. And then he would like, so there's a huge lawsuit. And I saw all these guys in this mastermind invest with him. There's a big, I don't know all the details, so I shouldn't, but there's a huge social media person that I heard lost about 8 figures with this guy. 8 figures. So
Wow.
yeah, there's a
Not
lot of
good.
a lot of it going on. I see posts in this group I'm in. That's why because I
Yeah.
don't really personally invest in syndications, because one is I'm going to make my capital work for myself, and B, I get a higher return and I trust myself more than investing
Yeah,
with
I
somebody
don't.
else.
Yeah, I mean that's the key is I trust myself. If I make mistakes all the time. Go back and read this one rental at a time. I lost 80% of my stack one time, but I blame myself. It's not like, oh, Joe did it, Dave did it. No, I did that. I made the mistake.
Yeah.
I sleep better at night knowing I screwed up.
Yeah, remember, syndicators get paid up front when they close on the acquisition fees. That's that's how they make their spend money. If they're just syndicating and they're not well established and they're just starting out, just think about that. When they go and close on this $50 million property, they're getting a 7-figure payday up front. So they make their money from multiple channels. Not to say syndication is bad, because it's not.
Yeah.
But you have to understand.
It got stupid. It did. It got really bad. It became financial engineering. It's I'll say it. You won't, but it got dude. I was in an event where 90% of the people were brand new syndicators, never owned real estate. How the hell is that supposed to end well? All you're doing is being little baby capital raisers for somebody else. That is going to blow up, and it is blowing up.
Yeah, and I have to say this, like, because I've been in real estate for 25 years, like,
Sure.
I was getting like kind of jealous, and I was like I was like keeping up with the Joneses, and you're looking at these people and you're like, oh man, they're making so much money. And then I just stopped and I said, you know what? Listen, just worry about yourself, educate yourself, get around good people. That's the real key of this all. It's like, don't worry about it. Like they could be, you could look at this person, think they're on the top of the world. The next day they're getting indicted and going to prison. So don't worry about everybody else. Worry about yourself. And going back to like your story, I think people listen, Zuber didn't just all of a sudden, become wealthy and have passive income overnight. It was like a 16-year process. And
exactly,
like he was successful in his W-2 job. He was good at what he did. He made decent money, good money, probably, kept up with the Joneses in the Bay Area. But if he wouldn't have bought that first house in Fresno and kept at it, even through the trials and tribulations, he would not be where he is today, where he's able to do what he wants and move to Vegas. And so I think we need to realize that in general, like you have to understand that Zuber got successful through studying and through grit. And most people that want to be successful need to understand they're going to have to study and grit it out, because nothing's going to come easy. Sometimes I get frustrated, Zuber. I'm like, God, I'm so smart. I should be so far ahead. But then I go, listen, you do live a life. You work at your house. You have passive income. You own 18 rental units or whatever I own, something like that, right? Like I own a part of this business. I have 2 of my own small businesses. I'm an entrepreneur, but but look, I know I need to keep on stacking my chips. I need to still do the work. I still have to buy one rental at a time. And if I do that for another 5 years, I'm 45. By 50 years old, I'll reach my goal, and then I can,
Yeah. Well, you got 60 years. I'm 51, so you got 6 more years. You'll be okay.
So, and then, but also too, I think there's the people out there that are like I had a call from one of your viewers, and very successful. He has 7 figures stacked in his bank. He's in his early 60s, and he was just like, look, I've never done what I really wanted to do. I want to start a business, right? So he's going through the process at 6, because like he's not. Most people don't want to.
He's got 30 years left.
Right, he got 30 years left, and why not make your last 20 or 30 years of work like fun? So I was like, I love those stories too, and then also the stories of somebody who got beat up their whole life and they're like 58 years old and they don't have the retirement. Those people, I want to help those people too. I want to like. Owning, even if you don't get to owning 20 doors or 10 doors, what if we got you 3 rental properties over the next 5 years or 3 years or 4 years?
Absolutely.
How much impact can we do? Or if we get them into a business where they're the owner operator and now they went from making 75 grand. Now they make 150 grand, but they're self-employed and they can grow it into much more. Those are the people I want to help.
That's why you are the concierge to small business loans and you're part of this channel. How can people find you?
BoEckstein.biz, BoEckstein.biz. Go to One Rental at a Time, book the call, and we'll meet on Zoom, and hopefully we can devise a plan.
There you go. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.